All right, welcome back. I am really excited to get into this with you because up until this point in time, we've been talking about a lot of theory. Now, while that theory is necessary and it's important that you understand it, it's also key to know that theory alone is not going to get you anywhere, and it's going to take action. It's going to take specific action. And what we're going to do here is move forward and take that theory and actually start putting it into application. And the first application towards creating a life that you love and creating the financial freedom that you desire is paying down debt. Now, what most people do wrong is when they're paying down debt is they just start throwing money at it. But what we talk about, as we discussed before, is plugging the leaks first. And we're going to do that by finding the money. All right, so before you can plug any leaks in your financial life, you need to understand the structure of your financial life. You need to understand money at a little deeper level. So what I want to do here is get into kind of money, how money works a little bit, throwing some terms at you and start to really go down the rabbit hole of the education here behind the structure of money and the ins and outs of the intricacies of how money works. So to start off, let's talk about this. You see this pie here, right? And basically what we have this pie broken down into is three different types of money. What I can tell you is that every single dollar you have can fall into one of these three slices of pie. So you either have accumulated money, right? And so that's money that you're saving or you have saved for your financial future, whether that's saving for a rainy day account, saving for retirement, saving for college, something down the road that you're not spending, you're delaying gratification on today to be able to have the benefit of that money later. The second the second type of money is lifestyle money. Now, how much time do you want to spend in this course to be able to focus on reducing your current lifestyle to be able to reach your financial goals? Obviously, the answer to that is as little as possible. So that's why we don't focus on that. I'm not saying you're not going to have to tap into that at all, but that's all based on personal kind of setup and structure and all that stuff. So that's going to be different for every single person. The third type of money is transferred money. Now, transferred money is money that you're transferring away unknowingly and or unnecessarily, and that is it through ways of how you're paying taxes, how you're financing your home, how you're saving for college, how you're paying credit card bills, how you're financing your cars, how you're funding your pension, stuff of that nature. So those are all inefficiencies that lead to massive wealth transfers from you to those other organizations that are helping you in those areas. How you make your insurance payments, for instance. So what we want to do is help you become more efficient in those areas to recapture money that you're transferring away unnecessarily. And you're going to be shocked by how much money we can find to help you. And this is why it's so important. Have you ever heard of the term opportunity cost? Now, opportunity cost simply means when you spend a dollar, not only are you losing that dollar, not only are you losing that control of that dollar. For instance, if you go to Starbucks, not that I'm going to ask you to stop going to Starbucks, but if you go to Starbucks and you buy a $5 latte, how much did that latte cost you? Well, a lot of people say $5, but the reality is it's not $5 because that was a lifestyle choice, and that $5 went in there, and you spend that $5, but not only you lose that $5, you lost the ability to earn interest on that $5. So had you instead saved or invested that money, the interest rate that you would have earned on that money is the opportunity cost. And the challenge is for every Starbucks, and I'm not telling you to stop this, but just to put it into perspective for you, for every $5 latte that you buy at Starbucks today, 30 years down the road, that $5 that you spent, had you saved and invested that in an account that you could earn 5% on, you'd have about $60 in that account. So every Starbucks you buy today is costing you $60 in retirement income. Now, once again, I'm not saying that you need to stop going to Starbucks. But what I am saying is that if you have $100, $200, $300 of unnecessary wealth transfers just in the inefficiencies in your financial life through insurance payments and through all the other things I mentioned just a second ago, that can add up to thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. In fact, that can, just by operating more efficiently, we can help you get, without increasing any more out-of-pocket money, without changing your standard of living at all right now, we can typically get you to more money saved than the average American has at all in general. So it's pretty awesome. Now, these are all areas that people are losing money unnecessarily, and most of the time unknowingly. And you can see the protection, expenses, and taxes. Typically, I'm going to talk a little bit about tax history and why it's so important, and why we're going to focus on helping you with this, because that warrants a little more of a deep conversation. But everything from estate planning, typically the taxes, that's when you get into the higher income people, or if you're focusing too much on your pension plans and qualified accounts, 401k, stuff like that, we can have a conversation about that, and I'll go into that. But protection, this is a big area. A lot of people are spending too much on their auto insurance because they follow the Geico ads, they follow the Progressive ads, they spend too much on their home insurance because they're going with major companies. And there are all sorts of little secrets that we're going to teach you how to regain control of that, how to lower your premiums, how to refinance your cars, how to finance your cars in a different way. And what we want to do is we want to help you operate more efficiently with what we control immediately, and then moving forward as the process goes along, it'll put you in a position to be in better control as we go. So everything, especially paying down credit card debts, opening up cash flow, mortgages. A lot of people, just the way you finance your houses, it's inefficient. So we're going to go forward here, but our goal is to put you in control of your money. Literally, we want to have as much control of your money as possible, and we want to have you in the driver's seat. And whether it's how you pay for your houses, or how you finance things, or how you pay your credit card bills, or how you use your credit cards to finance things, how you make auto payments, how you finance your cars, or even vacations, any major capital purchase that would be anything you can't pay cash for, and even how you pay taxes. Like I said, being in control of your money is the number one component. And the reality is the game is simple. It's no different than tic-tac-toe. However, the first time you played tic-tac-toe, who won? As simple as the game is, the person who won is the person who probably told you how to play, who taught you the rules to the game. And until you learn the simple rule of, you know what, the first place you need to go is right in the center, that puts you in control. Until you learn that rule, you were probably losing the game pretty consistently, right? And the simple rules of finance are no different, but you need to understand the rules. And the challenge is that the rules that are being taught in the world are not the rules that are actually in the benefit of you to regain control and to have as much control of your financial life as possible. Now, this is my problem with the financial industry as a whole, is that you could see there's lifestyle expenses, opportunity cost, taxes, and interest on debt. Those all fall. So the taxes and the interest on debt, those and opportunity costs, those go into the transferred category. And if you look at it and you add those in, it's actually winds up being transferred money plus taxes wind up being about half, or if not more than half, of all the money that you're going to take in on an annual or monthly basis. And lifestyle money is a small portion of that pie, and savings and investments is an even smaller portion of that pie. And why I created the Life 180 roadmap here is because the financial industry does a terrible job at this, because all they focus on is the savings and investments. They focus on this little small piece of the pie. And the reality is this slice of the pie right here that you're seeing is literally a fraction of the size that you're even seeing. The only reason we made it this big is because it's got to fit into this. We got to be able to fit the words into it, and that's the only reason it's that big in general. And what they do is they say, you know what? They try to get you, rather than operating more efficiently in these other areas, in the opportunity costs and the taxes and the interest on debt, we can leave your lifestyle alone. We can help you operate more efficiently in these three areas that are essentially where half of your money is going. It's a lot easier to do that and not impact your life than it is to try to have your savings do more for you, because all they're going to do is have you take on more risk to get a better rate of return. What that does is it makes you more susceptible to volatility. And as I've shown you already, the market is volatile enough, and we need to protect you from that and put yourself in a situation where you can prosper from that volatility, not be hammered by it every single time we have a downturn in the economy. And so the standard financial practitioner is doing it completely backwards. And so what we do, we look at it like this. This is kind of how we think of ourselves. Think about it like this. Imagine I had the ability to send you to the Masters, and I could send you to the Masters, and I gave you one of two options. I could give you the best clubs in the world. You got to choose from one of these two options, but you only got to choose one. I got to give you the best clubs in the world. You could pick any set of clubs in the world that you wanted, and you got to go and pick those clubs. Or option two, you got to pick the ability, the swing of any player in the entire world, right? It could be Phil Mickelson. It could be Rory McIlroy. I don't know if you're a golf fan or not, but you probably know, even if you're not a golf fan or a player or whatever, you probably understand that picking the best set of clubs, if you're not a professional golfer, if you're not a complete expert with those clubs, is not going to do you any good. Phil Mickelson, if you had the best clubs in the world, Phil Mickelson could pick up a set of clubs that played against sports used that are built for children, and he'd probably still beat you, right? And why? Because his swing is honed in. So that's the same thing in the financial world. Too many financial people are putting their clients and suggesting products that don't fit the financial needs of their clients. They're literally just putting them in situations where they have more risk. And what we want to focus on isn't the product, it's the process. What we want to focus on is the swing. We want to custom create a financial world that helps you operate more efficiently, and only once you're in a position should you actually get the right clubs, should you actually go out and purchase the clubs to fit where you want to go. I hope that makes sense. So, and here's why. Here's why we do this. Because no matter what, as you go along, your financial world, your circle of wealth, if you will, is going to increase. There's nothing we can do about that. You as you go through life, hopefully you're going to make more money, and just by the sheer nature of how inflation works, that's going to happen. However, unless you figure out and operate more efficiently, the reality is that your interest, your taxes, the interest on your debt, the taxes, and the opportunity costs that you're spending is going to grow in proportion with how much money you make and all that stuff. You're going to have more debt. You're going to that's why you end up in positions like Kanye West, right? Where he's making $26 million a year. Well, he's got $53 million in debt, and he's in trouble. Well, he's no different than the average American, where the average American has twice as much debt as they make for income. So why is everybody criticizing him when he's doing the same stuff? It's the principle that you end up, the more money you make, the more broke you are. You're just more broke on a bigger level. And the reality is, in this situation, you're more susceptible to danger when you make more money. I can't tell you how many people I meet that make $200,000 a year or more, yet they're in a situation where if they get laid off, if they lost their job, if they got an income cut, if anything happened, if the economy took a downturn, they're in trouble because they're leveraged to the tilt. Because yes, their income's been going up, but so is the debt. Their taxes get bigger for sure, and the opportunity cost, because of the interest on the debt and all the other things, are really weighing against them. So what we want to do is say, you know what, we want your circle of wealth to grow. We want your income. We want your assets to grow bigger, but we also want to do it in a way so these stay minimal or even shrink, right? Or we want to keep these as minimal as possible. We want to make sure that you're paying as few taxes over your lifetime as possible. We want to eliminate the opportunity cost expense completely and minimize the interest on your debt. So that is the number one way that we focus on helping our clients, and that is what we're going to teach you going through this course. That is the number one thing you're going to learn, and it is the most important, in my opinion, it is the absolute most important thing that you can learn in your financial life to gain control of your financial freedom. So transferred money, what a lot of people try to do, like I said, they try to say, you know what, you should, rather than becoming more efficient, you should just try to get a greater rate of return. Now, I want to show you why that's not possible. Let's take an average household. I like to deal with $100,000 for household income, whether you're lower than that or not, or higher than that. 100,000 is a good round number that people can do the math on pretty easily and stick with me. So what I want to say is, like, the typical financial professional will say, if you have $100,000, you should be saving about 10% of your income, and the typical rate of return is about 6%. So what I want to show is, okay, if that's the case, then your annual expenses are $90,000, including taxes, and your standard of living is $90,000. Now at 6% on 10,000, you're earning $600, right? That's the interest you're earning. 6% on 10,000 annually, $600, right? So what does that look like? Basically, that says your annual expenses are $90,000. So let's face it. If we look at this and we say, okay, let's take a step backwards now. The typical financial professional will say, you know what, this is your financial advisor is getting you 6% rate of return on your money. Well, you know something, I can get you 8%. So let me get you 8%. What's that do? That just got you basically an extra couple tanks of gas, an extra $200 a year. And what they don't tell you is that to go from 6% to 8%, you're essentially taking on more risk, a lot more risk over the long run, about 33% more risk in the long run to get a 6% rate of return versus an 8% rate of return. And are you willing to put that $10,000 at 33% more risk, all for an extra $200 in return? The answer is no. And for the most part, I think the answer is no, I should say. At least that's what I hear most of the time. And so my question to you is, if your answer is no, why is it that every single person in this world is doing it that way? I don't get it. Now, let's look at it this way. Let's go back here. I'm gonna drop this back down to 6%, right? So you can see we got the $600 in interest there. Now let's talk about this. Do you think you could find 1% inefficiency in your life? Whether that's reducing expenses, I'm talking about, whether that's insurance premiums, all the different things we talked about. And I'm going to get into a lot more cool ways that we can even put this on steroids and make it really sing. But just on a basic level, do you think you could find 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%? I don't know what the number is for you, but I can tell you I haven't met a person yet that can't find 5% in inefficiency in their financial life. Not one. So what does that mean? In that situation, this person, because their annual expenses is $90,000, just in becoming more efficient by 5%, we found $4,500 a year. What does that mean? That's the equivalent of a 45% annualized return on that $10,000. The question is, how much risk did you take, right? How much risk? None. You did it all by operating more efficiently. And so the financial world is trying to get people to take on more risk and leverage. What's that do? That transfers the wealth away from you to Wall Street, right? Rather than operating more efficiently and regaining control of your financial life and putting your money in a place where you have liquidity, use, and control of it, and you have access to it in case, so when an opportunity strikes you, you can actually take advantage of it. Now, that is why that's so important. Now, just to wrap this up, I used the boat analogy before, but here's a bucket, right? It's the same thing. You're trying to fill that bucket up, right? And if you have the bucket, imagine your goal is to fill this bucket. That bucket is where you want to go. Your retirement goals, your financial freedom exists when that bucket is full of water. How much sense, if you know you have leaks in your financial bucket, if you know that there's inefficiencies in that financial bucket, does it make any sense to turn that water faucet on full speed, on full blast, and you try to jam or pump water into that bucket faster and faster and faster? Or does it make sense to plug the holes first? Make sure that you eliminate your debt. Make sure that you operate and eliminate opportunity costs, minimize interest payments, and minimize taxes. Because when you plug those holes, you could have all this go down to a trickle. You could turn the faucet down, have money going in slower, but because it's more efficient, you're going to get to your goal faster. Now, that is why this is so important. Now we're going to get into specific ways that you can actually reduce your debt and specific strategies and areas and items to focus on to reduce your debt.